This case study takes place within an animal science classroom. The room itself is set up similar to a computer lab. Each desk is equipped with a personal computer for the students to utilize throughout lessons. The teacher also has a smartboard available for presentations and note-taking. The teacher also has an iPad that is used to run presentations on the smartboard from anywhere in the classroom. Additionally, the iPad is used to take pictures of students' projects. The learning event is one that has a lesson objective for the students to learn the parts and functions of the chicken's reproductive system. Within the area of engagement, the teacher begins the lesson with an introduction of how they will be incubating eggs over the next 20-some days. Each group of 2 students will be parents to one of the eggs. The eggs are numbered and the students will take turns throughout the time in turning the eggs every day. Once this project is underway, the students are then introduced to the day's lesson. The second area of teaching the lesson is the enhancement process. Within the area, the students are given notes to copy from the smartboard. The teacher moves throughout the classroom and uses the iPad to continue moving through the slides for the notes. Once all the notes are taken that name and describe the parts of the chicken's reproductive system, the students are then given a worksheet to label with the names and the functions of each part. To reinforce this knowledge, the students then utilize Play-Doh to make a model of the chicken's reproductive system. This is completed in groups of 2, and each group has 2 colors of Play-Doh to complete their model. As the groups complete their model, the teacher then uses the iPad to take a picture of the model. These images are then sent to the student's Google Classroom page. Then, to enhance their learning further, each student takes the image that was sent to them and loads it into a Google drawing. Once loaded, the students then labels the parts and writes the function next to each part. This completes the lesson on the chicken's reproductive system. However, to extend the lesson, the students are told that their next assignment will include picking an animal and describing the reproductive system. They are instructed that they can do so in whatever format they prefer. The formats that are suggested include PowerPoint presentation, poster with a presentation, a Prezi presentation, or a Poplet. The students are familiar with all of these presentation products as they have used them throughout the class to that point. By looking into the EEE framework and how the technology is used within the lesson, we need to ask some questions to evaluate the lesson based on the EEE framework. First, we look to engagement. During the engagement phase of this lesson, the students were instructed that they were parents of eggs that would be incubated. Technology was not utilized in the engagement phase. Although the students may be focused with less distraction, motivated about the incubation process, and moved from passive to active learning through the egg turning, there is not a technology that would be causing this. Therefore, the total engagement score is 0 out of 6 points. Is there any way that the teacher would be able to engage the students about the incubation process? Possibilities may include a video or a tracking sheet on the birth of the chicks. Secondly, we look to enhancement that happens within the lesson. The technology tools that are utilized within this lesson include the smartboard for a PowerPoint slide, the iPad to take a picture of the created model, and Google Drawing for labeling the image. The first question that needs to be answered is if the technology tool allows students to develop a more sophisticated understanding of the learning goals or content. The answer is no. The tools allow students to reproduce the information that was given through the notes to ultimately be restated on the Google Drawing. The second question is, does the technology create scaffolds to make it easier to understand concepts or ideas? Yes. The use of the Google Drawing after making a model does assist in scaffolding the lesson to make understanding easier. The third question to be addressed deals with whether or not the technology allows learning that could not have been done in a traditional method. Yes, the modeling with Play-Doh is a traditional method of learning through modeling. However, with the ability of taking photos with the iPad and uploading them to label with names and functions, the student's learning is enhanced. The total enhancement score for this lesson is 4 out of 6 points. There are positives in the areas of scaffolding and demonstration of learning with technology versus traditional methods, although there may be a technology out there that may allow some higher order thinking skills for this lesson. Lastly, we look at the extension concept of the Triple E framework as it relates to this lesson. When analyzing the extension piece of this lesson, the lesson tends to be self-contained and minimal extension of the lesson can be accomplished. The technology that is used is available to students 24/7. However, students do not typically go into their Google Classroom unless there is an assignment due. In other words, the teacher would need to initiate assignments. The second question relates to bridging a gap between the school learning and everyday experiences. The technology is not bridging that gap. Lastly, the students are developing skills through this lesson of utilizing technology to label and organize images within Google Drawing. The students would be able to use this within their real life through presentations, inventorying their household goods, or other uses. Overall, the extension total is 3 out of 6 points. The technology used within the lesson is slightly related to the students' everyday life. They would be able to use parts of the technology if they have a good experience with the technology. By looking at the analysis of all 3 components of the Triple E framework, this lesson received a 7 out of 18. When looking at it through the lens of technology, there is room for improvement in all 3 of the components. The teacher could use additional technologies within the lesson to engage, enhance, and extend the lesson. By incorporating technology and traditional methods throughout this lesson, the teacher has begun in moving the lesson toward encompassing the new views of preparing students to learn processes versus rote memory items. Lastly, here are the resources used within the presentation.